What's going on, y'all? My name is Slumpfish. Today is all about drums on the Digitone 2. Now, when we think about drum sets, we think about all the separate pieces of a drum set, right? Well, what are those roles that we're creating ourselves in a synthesis space like this? Kick, snare, hi-hat, cowbell, tom, cymbals, shaker, okay, that's the usual suspects, right? And we can always approximate that in our own ways. And in fact, the ways that synthesists have created those roles within a digital space have now also very much entered into the consciousness of what it means to have a beat, to have a kick drum. In fact, I feel like the electronic dance kick drum, because it's so much more perfect and able to punch through a mix, it's kind of replaced in a way the classic kick drum of a real acoustic kick on a beat. But when we're in a space like with Digitone 2, where all bets are off and we can do anything we want, we don't have to abide by such tightly defined roles. We have room to move around between those different pieces of the puzzle. So I feel like I just mixed a metaphor there, but we can blend different roles together. We can do things like, the most obvious example is with a lot of brand new music today, the kick and the bass are the same thing. They don't have any separation. That note is also the point where we get that fierce bottom floor dropping thud that is a kick drum. So today it's going to be all about trying to weave between the traffic and to try to come out the other side with some kind of beat that doesn't play by the rules, which I think can be done. And of course, it's going to require some exploration, some experimentation, and most of all, we're going to have to listen and feel what it's telling us to do or what not to do. So I'm really going in here with a pretty blank slate because that's very much required if we're going to try to upend 50 years of drum paradigms. So enough of me talking, let's jump into it. This is a pattern I was working on yesterday. All right, new pattern, save. So I feel like the first thing we want to do with most drum sounds is just try to play with a little bit of skin popping. Because, that's what drums were back in the days. It was just like animal skin tightly strung across like a ring or some type of frame. And then you get that beautiful resonance from hitting a dead animal. So let's try to create that in a digital space. But let's try to keep our eyes and mind open for how we can follow it down maybe a different path. So first I want to go to FM drum. FM drum makes this super easy because it gives us the classic setup. Right here we have the ramp, the sweep time, and here we have the depth of that sweep. So of course, if we have a really short sweep time but a really, really deep ramp of the pitch, it's going to drop so fast that it's going to mostly be click. Interesting. Let me go ahead and clear this pattern. Now we'll just go to a new pattern. So it's like, how much click do we want? Now, part of me I beat myself up because to me, I'm like, no. This is too simple. Everybody does this. It's too classic. The reality is there's nothing wrong with something being classic. It's classic for a reason, So right off the bat, I'm like, that feels like a tom. I feel like toms usually have a nice exaggerated drop that you get to hear play out fully. Of course, we drop it down. So already right there, we have a tom. Now, one thing I don't like about FM machine drum, just to get a little bit off topic for a second, is it automatically comes with the hold time at infinite. And what I mean by that is decay is set to infinite. There's actually 0 hold time, but it's effectively the same thing. It's just going to hold that note forever. Now, this is perfect for when you want to use the FM machine drum to like do interesting FM tones, create leads and pads. It can be really good for that. But for a drum, that's the opposite of what I want. I need to tightly define the space of time, and it's a very short amount of time, you know, only so many milliseconds long, but I need that to be tightly defined so that then I can, within those boundaries, create some kind of shape, some type of movement of timbre or pitch, all of the above. However, today we are trying to be a little more open-minded, so I do want to check myself. So instead of doing what I usually do, which is like take the decay down to like way low, I'm gonna leave it about like right there, and I'll dial in a little bit of hold on the body. It's interesting, like to me, like this is a high parameter amount, but that's a really short sound. Now we could just leave that as is. It does sound like a nice tom, but I want to add some color to it. I want to see if we can like pervert this into some interesting shapes. And the beauty of when you go into a situation like this, looking for surprises, hoping, you know, embracing exploration, is we could start with a tom and end up with a hi-hat. We could start with this tom and end up with a snare. And I think that is kind of the beauty of especially FM machine drum, is it's so open, it's so malleable that it makes space for all these different elements to come from just a few, not a few parameters, but just to come from the same general apparatus. So, drinking my coffee. The best way to add color to something like this is we jump to our mod page. So let's dial in some magic. That's okay. Let's play around with this ratio. I like the impact there, but I don't love the harmonics. Maybe if we dial down the sustain and we just pull out decay. So that gives us a nice clicky transient. This is kind of subtle. This would be if we wanted to just say we're making a classic tom today, this is not a bad place to start. Let's try to bring back some sustain. And I'm hearing there's kind of a tail to this, a little more than I would have liked, so I'm going to pull this back. All right. Sometimes it actually makes sense to bring in more tail so that you can know what's there. All right. Thank you, Badge Giss and Dr. Leviathan, for being here, and Dr. Juicy or DJ Juicy B. I'm sorry you couldn't join. I hope you sleep well, my friend. All right. So let's play around with this amount. Let's try to bring in the second modulator. All right, that sounds cool, but it's a little wild. At low enough amounts, it's almost like chopping up the sound or like sending a wave through it, like a rippling wave. So let's bring it up. Now this ratio is so high that it's now kind of pulling out all the low frequencies. Which is pretty far off from that original tom sound, but I think this is more interesting. But we need to really wild card this up. Let's mess with our algorithm. Okay, I like that a little bit better. And we could mess with our waveform. Messing with the waveform is always like instantly gonna just like take the drum to a nasty, dirty place. That's surprisingly nice right there. What I want to do actually, we're gonna jump to the LFO page. We're gonna mess with operator AB wave. We're gonna go to this one of my favorite shapes, which is the ramp, and we're gonna play with our phase, right? So we're gonna pull it so that there's a little bit of non-movement in this modulation, curve. So we're gonna start with nothing happening, and then it's gonna start ramping up. Now, of course, this needs to be pretty fast because our sound is very short, so we're gonna have to play around with it to get it right. And for our mode, I want it to reset every time, so we're gonna jump to one-shot mode at half speed. Oh, and I wanna go ahead and draw this back to the original sine wave because that's going to start off nice and clean. We're going to get an initial impact that feels cleaner, but then the interesting weird timbres are then going to come in and color the sound, because that's often my problem with, when we add a lot of modulation or if we play with these waveforms or even the wave folding, is that I like my initial impact, that transient, to feel satisfying and clean, because that's something that is really special about digital synthesis and general synthesis, but FM drums particularly. So, but then again, today is all about trying to break norms too. So let's try to dial in a little bit more downtime, see if that helps. So that would be like the subtle amount. Let's hear what it sounds like off, just so we can compare. Honestly, we don't need a lot to do what we want, but I like this shape. So let's find out if there's some other, feedback maybe. Let's try that. Let's try algorithm. That's fun. All right, let's bring back. Okay, kind of like that. Let's do it with 0. I'm gonna go ahead and say I like that. Let's keep it there. Screaming String 76, thank you for being here, my friend. All right, we'll save it. I like that. Is it a snare? Is it a tom? It could probably do both. Let's go ahead and open up our keyboard. I like that, but it needs a little more body, a little more decay. Okay, so we're gonna save that, and let's go ahead and pick a scale just to get ahead of this. We're gonna go to keyboard setup. I'm just gonna close my eyes, pick one. Locrian. Yeah, okay. Locrian it is. All right. So we got that right there. We don't know yet what tempo we're gonna do, so let's just leave it as is. Now, it looks like for my speed over here on the LFO pages, I have it set to follow the BPM, which might screw us over if we start to change the BPM later, because if you didn't know, you have to keep scrolling past BPM to get to where it says mult. Now this will be locked at, I believe, 120 BPM, which is the tempo we're currently at. So this will make sure that this speed does not change relative to the tempo we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and do that with the other one too. All right, because that'll drive me crazy personally. I'm like, that's the same sound, but it's not the same sound. And then other times it's like, oh, I like that the beat is slower and the kick is longer and everything is kind of elongated and yeah. All right. So what feels good? All right. Okay. We can't have it. We can't have it be 120. I feel like that's too obvious. Let's play around with it. Whoa, okay. Beautiful. All right. So again, now we have kind of a snare going on here, and all that happened is I dropped in a new trig. That new trig was at C5 instead of C3, and we've got like a nice contrast going. In fact, all right, good place to start. All right, on to the next sound. Track 2. Maybe for this one, let's get a little more reckless. I think that could be in our favor. Whenever we're playing around with the FM tone machine, that's where I think kind of recklessness really pays off. Bogdanga Fanov, thank you for being here. Bogdanga Fanov, I hope I got that right. Thank you for being here, homie. Dun, 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 dun. Save. All right, on the FM tone machine, we can really go buck wild. And of course, we can do that classic trick. Hold down the button, hit yes, and now we got some random parameters. Of course, it always sends our ratios just so high. So it's often worth it to just like kind of pull it down a bit. And they always put the feedback at full. It seems like the randomness is not calibrated well for certain parameters, and of course that's okay, because probably that just means it's actually true randomness, which, you know, true randomness is pretty ugly and not very nice, so that's probably what we want. I'd rather have this than like Spotify's shuffle randomness, where they just are actually curating for you behind the scenes. Okay. Okay, one thing that I wish was a little different about these envelopes is if we want to start here, this level of the B modulator, and then get to here, like we know exactly where we want to begin and end. We can't do that with just the envelope, because it has to always start as 0 when you start dialing an attack, which is really cool. So we have to do a workaround. We have to use the LFO, and it's not like the worst thing in the world, but I think that would be something that if they could in the future, like make that possible to start the envelope at a higher point, that would be really cool. I don't know, maybe someone out there can explain to me why that will never happen and FM doesn't work. I don't know, man. Let's see who we got in the chat. Sick. Sire Tim, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for being here, dog. And you're a new Digitone owner. Congratulations, because this thing is like the endless playground, the endless sandbox. Like if someone gave me 1,000,000 Legos and said, make whatever you want and you'll never run out, that's what it's like playing with the Digitone 2. So, mad respect. Anyone who starts this journey, I'm happy for you and mad respect. Okay, back to what we're doing. I have this bad habit of kind of changing the topic, and I feel like that's because I was diagnosed as having ADHD. Okay, now let's flip this to all the way at the end. We have our one-shot mode at halvesies. Now this is a very slow speed, so we have two options. We can either jump up this depth a lot, or we can keep the depth low and turn the speed up so that it just gets there faster. Because if we have a slow speed but we have a super high depth, then it will slowly get to this insanely high depth, but it will, in relative to where we've started, get to where we want fairly fast. So in a way, having a slower speed kind of gives you a nicer range to play with if you know you don't want to go super far, which in this case, I don't want to go super far. So this is kind of perfect. And yeah, okay. Perfect, save it. Let's jump back over here. Now, harmonics is always where like the most interesting tonal stuff happens. In my experience, that's where like the game really changes. Sometimes for the absolute worst, like you imagine you're driving and you just take a right turn and you go off the side of a cliff. That sometimes is what it's like. Sometimes is what it's like playing with the harmonic setting. So always save. We're gonna save it. Ooh. But then we can find interesting in-between spaces, which of course, then we can point the modulation at. So let's go ahead and try that. Send that to the harmonics. I feel like this is the dorky direction, and this is the techno, dirty, industrial direction. Let's see what is Eden saying in the chat. EHDYN. Big problem with randomness in most sense is it's not an unbased model. Let's say you were randomly selecting presets in a list. It seems to favor certain ones and repeatedly serve them up. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, it's I mean, that is the same problem I have with Spotify too. I don't know if that's just maybe you know more about like randomness and how it works and stuff. Oh, and it's your first music hardware, Sire Tim. We all salute you in the chat. Yeah, it's so hard to say, like, do I want true randomness or do I want like my randomness that I want? It's like when you're trying to pick somewhere to eat, you're like, okay, I guess I'll flip the coin, and then the coin somehow picks the one that you don't want, even though you were trying to flip a coin. That's how it feels a lot of the time. Maybe I'm just totally, I can never be satisfied by anything. All right, let's have some more fun. Save it. All right, let's go back here and play around with these modulations a bit. And let's go back to our mix. Nice and dirty. Let's play around with some different algorithms, see what happens. Blah, blah. I like that. Has kind of a mouthy quality to it. This or the first one? Let's see. Now let's stick back to the first one. We don't need to throw such a crazy turn of events. Let's open up the keyboard. Okay, I like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're gonna make it so it's only one voice. Let me make sure I'm not too loud. Yeah, we're doing okay for volume. Okay. Turn it down a bit. Now, is that a bass sound or is that a drum sound? I think that's more like a lead and a bass. So let's try to stay true to our concept and make it a little more percussive-y. Of course, oldest trick in the book. We're gonna drop that pitch all, exponential, one-shot mode, halvesies, turn it up. This is interesting. but it needs to be uglier. So let's go ahead and kind of like that. Save it. And you know what? Let's play around with our octave. I think one of our problems is maybe we need to dial in this exact envelope time. Now we're going to jump to the offset page and start making some dirty business. Can't say I love it. Okay. I'm not in love with this. Let's go ahead. Let's do something dangerous. I saved it so we can go back if we want. Let's just throw some random parameters at it. Okay, I kind of like that. That's not fair. Let's put a high pass on it. Okay, is that like a metal disc type sound? Nah. All right, let's try again. Go ahead and do that drop it 5 octaves thing. That helps a lot when you're randomizing and it gives you like an insanely high ratio. Okay, I kind of like that actually. It's definitely like a tom type sound. You know what? This sound just might not be the sound, you know what I'm saying? Let's not be afraid to keep going, okay? Track 3, because I bet we can come back to that and find something interesting to do with it. Let's get weird. All right. Now, let's pump up our modulation. Today's all about exploration. It's about a big part of listening is listening for when it's time to move on. And I'm not just saying that because I know it's a stream and got to kind of keep the momentum going, but because I know that for me personally, I will find myself going over and over the same thing when in reality, I probably just need to take a step back, all the way to the beginning. And actually, it's very freeing to do that sometimes. Like, hey, let me clear the page. Let me just start over. Because oftentimes that work that I've put in where I was just going around and around in circles is actually useful work. It's just that I need to step back and take what I know from that experience. Like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm feeling. And that maybe wasn't it, or that was it in a way that couldn't connect to what's happening here. And then that, just takes you further down the road of where you want to be. All right. I don't want to mess around, y'all. Let's make some action happen. Let's get wild. Randomness on the algorithm. I feel like this is the most psychotic and crazy destination they could have put in here. It's just messing with the algorithm. It's always going to be stepped, which of course is very strange. And then it's always going to be like throwing at you these crazy situations. Oops. Of course, if you have it that high, maybe let's pull it down a bit. All right. I heard a good spot in there. I like that. All right, let's turn that into a hi-hat. You know, sometimes with the hi-hat, I like to have the full-on ADSR instead of the attack, hold, decay shape. The attack, hold, decay shape is so useful for drum sounds, but having a sustain and a little bit of drop and decay before we get a full-on release can be really, really nice. Sure, that's a hi-hat. And we are going to mess with those harmonics. Let's get a good shape going. Let's get a good shape. Wait, there we go. Okay, well, I like where it dips, so clearly, let's pull this off, take that off. I feel like this happens all the time where I'll set a parameter to move around and then I'll hear like, no, I like where it was somewhere in that movement. Yeah, let's pull our depth down so it's just moving around a bit, but let's go back to a triangle shape. Let's get a slow speed going. All right, now let's lay down some trigs. And of course, very loud. Let's go to the high pass. You know what? We're gonna go old school. We're gonna do legacy, low pass, and high pass. Why? Just because I miss it. I haven't used it as much anymore. So we're gonna do a backwards envelope. Problem right now though is our trig length is too long. So we need to bring all of these down so they're happening across a shorter space of time, because remember, we have the sustain on. Okay, now it kind of sounds like a hi-hat, right? Let's put a little bit of attack on it too. And let's mess with our pitch a bit. We could do some sample and hold on a random. But you know what? I think I want to do classic shape. One shot mode, ramp down. And then now, let's audition some different notes for these notes. So we're gonna hold down one trig and then the track button, and now we can change all of them together. Okay, I like that. Quasi, thank you for being here, dog. I appreciate you saying that. Merc Worker, nice to see you again. I like what Eden said. I love going too far in the algorithm and then backing off to the sweet spot. That is kind of the recipe for success with the FM, because FM is so volatile. You know, like I was saying earlier, you take a small detour to the left, suddenly you're in the ugliest room you've ever been in, whereas before you were in that perfect angelic world. I feel like that's what FM synthesis could do. I mean, digital, any synthesis can do this, but you can get the thing not just like good, not just like very good, but perfect for the context that you need it to exist in. and you can make sounds that are that with the aesthetic beauty of like angelic tones. And of course, if you just turn the modulation up like 2% more, suddenly you just like scraped an angel in the face with sandpaper, and now they're writhing on the ground, bleeding and dying in front of you. That's what the sound sounds like. Sometimes that's what you want though too. So, it's all about listening. So save this. Let's jump in a couple trigs. Cool. Okay, that sounds like a real hi-hat to me. Let's bring in our I'm gonna bring these down. Okay, I'm making this a little bit stubbier, a little bit more pointed. We need to do a little bit of filter work on this. Oh, sorry, just on this. Now let's do high pass. Okay. All right, save that. Dungeon tones. Yes, thank you, Dr. Leviathan. Dopamine, IE, thank you for being here. All right. What was that other sound doing? Let's see how it sounds. Bringing it back. You know what? That's not that bad. It's just too busy. This is too loud. That's the problem with all these parameter lockings. You'd be like, oh, I got this cool, but then you got to go back and fix the volume. So then if you want to copy that trig over to different spots, it can be very hard to keep track of at that point. Okay. I like this, but on its own, it's not quite enough. Thank you for being here, Unek. What's up, bro? All right, we're gonna add a second layer to try to match this guy right here. It sounds like we're like striking an ugly metal bucket. So track 4, let's make it really easy on ourselves. Let's go to FM drum. We're gonna dial down the body. That's what the third page is. That's your pure, synthesis wave. And now we're gonna dial up the noise. Oh, but we also gotta drop a trig. Let's put some grain on it. I like it. Thank you, Meerkat. It's good to hear from you, dog. Hope you're having a good Sunday, my friend. Okay, that's good for now. So Unek is saying that I should check out the Torso T1. Okay, I definitely will. So the Torso T1 and the Oxy are the two sequencers I hear about the most. And then there's another one, I can't think of it. It's got MXL or something like that that I've also heard about. Or that's more of a MIDI controller, actually. So thank you for that recommendation. I'm gonna look into it. All right, so this is a fair place to start. How are we doing on volume? Not too bad. All right, we need to break this open. We need to throw some gas on this fire. All right. Let's get reckless. Let's just every time you go to the envelope page, it gives you the most insane, we have the delay of the envelope set to like way too high than anyone would ever put it. Okay, I like that though. You know what? I haven't done this in a while. Let's go ahead and do record, play. Oh wait, sorry. Save it. We're gonna do record, play, and then let's start playing with these. Yeah, save it. Okay, let's go again. Record, play. Let's see. Okay, this one, let's put it up high, right? And then for fun, let's turn on the arpeggiator. Oh, sorry, the trigs aren't long enough. All right. All of that to find this. All right. All right, this is what I want. Yes. Okay, so this trig needs to be here for it to make the sound I want. So I'm not gonna bother to try to understand that or figure that out. Sometimes it's better to keep going. All right. Now, I do like these snares. We're gonna save it. We're going to copy this pattern over to the next one. Paste, save. And for my friend out there who, Cyrim, this is your first time rocking the Digitone, this is something you're gonna wanna do all the time, is save your pattern by copying it, pasting it to the next one. That way you can make all kinds of changes, save as you go, and then go back to your original one. I know this is like probably, 101 Digitone for most folks out there, but always worth reminding, always worth remembering. All right, so we're gonna save pattern 5, jump to pattern 6. I wanna go ahead and pull out those guys. All right, already I like it more. Sometimes you love something and then you take it out and suddenly everything else feels better. And this guy, all right. And then what about track 2? Yeah, I just don't like it. I don't like track 2, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and try to do something interesting with track 2. I like that better. Ba, 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 ba. Let's turn it up a bit. All right, let's try some different notes. Okay, I do like that better. Oh, we got no filter action. Okay, that's usable. Bring it down a little bit. Now let's see, track 4 was our noise. I think this hi-hat's a little too loud. I swear, the two things I always have to turn down, always, and maybe this is just my own personal like sound profile sensitivity, always have to bring down the hi-hats, and I always have to bring down the kick. So literally doesn't matter. Any session, any type of beat, doesn't matter. I always have to bring down those two things. There's this mastering engineer named Hebra Kadri, I believe. I wish I was pronouncing her name correctly, but she was talking about, she's like, as a mastering engineer, I'm telling you, turn those hi-hats down. And it's ever since I took that advice and tried to like turn it down further than I think I should turn it down, it's always worked out very well. Because like we think of hi-hats as like, oh, we gotta like not just, they can't just be there, you have to hear them, you know, and that's not really true. They are just kind of there to blend other things together. Now they can do really cool things and pop out of the beat, and maybe they're doing really cool things and they aren't competing for the front of the mix, you know, they're not jumping out to the front, but they're still there. And because hi-hats are always, like almost always, the highest frequency content in your song, very often it's the one playing with like those upper, you know, harmonics way around 10K, 15K. A little bit of volume for your hi-hats goes a long way. All right, I'm glad someone else can relate. Thank you, Nick. All right, I'm gonna take your advice, Unek. Thank you, because if the T1 is as you describe it, a happy accident machine, then that's my jam right there. All right, I'm feeling pretty cool about this so far, but we could do more. Let's not be afraid. Okay, let's go to. All right, no. What do we? Let's go to machine. Let's hit wavetone machine. Now we're gonna do my favorite thing in the world, which is turn on the ring modulator. And if we want to do drums, it's probably best to do ring mod fixed. That just means that one of the oscillators is going to hold in place no matter what note you play. The other oscillator will be what moves around on the keyboard. Ring modulation has a lot to do with like what frequencies you're choosing to mix together between two oscillators. So something to keep in mind when you do use the ring modulator, you want to go ahead and turn your oscillator 2 down to get 100% ring modulated signal. If not, then you can just mix in oscillator 1 on top of it, or I'm sorry, oscillator 2 on top of it. Oscillator 1 needs to be up, oscillator 2 needs to be down. You can mix it in, but that might not be what you want. Isn't that crazy? Ring modulation. This is a lower note. It sounds like it's getting lower as it goes higher, but it's only the tone is shifting to like a more warm sound. All right, let's not be afraid to get wild. Oscillator 1. No, let's do oscillator 2 tuning. And we're gonna, let's do square wave, put it pretty fast, close my eyes, and then, all right, we'll do that. No, let's do trig mode. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm gonna keep that in mind. So, Eden was saying that ring mod is a great way to get the wave shaping back under control, which is I'm gonna pocket that in my brain for the future. I like that. A24 horror movie. Also, this is totally unrelated, but I saw the craziest movie I have seen in a theater in a long time. I saw it on Friday. It's only out in theaters for a couple days in Austin. It's called Sirat, S-I-R-A-T. The soundtrack is absolutely banging electronic techno music. It's about ravers in the desert, but it's also so much more than that. It's a very spiritual film, at least that's my interpretation. It's also an extremely disturbing film. So I don't recommend it lightly, but if you are mentally prepared to experience something that is going to push you and also upset you in a good way because it's art, then I highly recommend it. It was incredibly inspiring. I've been thinking about it, the last few days nonstop, and the soundtrack is absolutely banging. And seeing it in the theater, they had it loud. It felt like I was at a concert. It was the perfect scenario. I gotta remember who the artist was so I can shout them out for the future because they did a great job. All right, sorry. Thank you for letting me take that detour. All right, how would this fit into our song? Okay. You know what I want to do? Let's go to our second LFO and let's modulate the depth of the first LFO with a random wave. We're going to put it on sample hold. And we're going to keep it, relatively slow. Oh, we We got to put in some depth though. Oh. No, not sampling home. Let's do trigger. It's not doing what I want. Oh, I was on the wrong trig. My bad. All right, too fast. All right, this is fun, but let's not play around. Yeah, Kong Ding Ray. I had never heard of them before. They rock. Yeah, check it out. I mean, like I said, not something I can recommend lightly, but blow my brains. All right, this seems like a cool place to start. Gonna turn on the arpeggiator. Gonna make it one voice. Let's do 1 out of 2. Oh, my trigs are too long. All right, save it. Let's try this. Oops. Whatever. Okay. Save it. Let's play around. Put some chorus on it. Yeah. Distortion a little bit. And some delay. I like a short delay. I wish we could write into the sequencer movement of the delay, but we can't. Who is Raster Noton? Is that related to what we're to Kong Ding Ray? This is a question for Aiden. Okay, everybody knows who this is. I feel silly. I don't know who it is. All right, let's stop goofing around. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Yo, what's up, Giza? Oh, I didn't realize you had a stream going, Giza. My bad. I've been trying to do like a Sunday. I was thinking about Sunday streaming, kind of making this my general time. My bad, dude. I didn't realize. I know Alva Noto. Yeah, I love that Ryuichi Sakamoto collab they did. That was a sick album. Okay, I'm gonna have to check this label out, see what else they got on there. Thank you for the recommendations. Okay, I know what I want to do. Well, I would have liked to see your stream, Giza, so that's why I feel bad, because I would have liked to have seen see what you were up to. So. We're gonna take harmonics. Oops, forgot I was still recording. We're gonna go to our ramp up shape. Start at the beginning. Do extremely slow. It's interesting with this ramp shape though, because it'll run out of ramp and it'll drop back down to where it was, which can be very interesting. So like, this is not what I wanted, but I'm gonna keep it here for now. Let's play around with our speed a little bit. Now in this case, I think it does make sense to leave the LFO on BPM because I kind of want this to match the beat no matter what speed we're going. Okay, you know what, save it. I think all these ghost trigs I accidentally laid down might be getting in the way. Let's try it without it. Even though I do like it. Claro and Electo. Okay, thank you. I gotta write these down. I always get really good recommendations from the chat, like which Jega albums to check out, multiple Plaid albums, which I had the pleasure of jamming this week, and then now an entire label to check out, and Claro. I already forgot. Claro and Electo. Sick. I'm gonna find that. Okay, this is cool. But let's do some ghost trig stuff, right? We're gonna do record, play button, start playing with some. That was like a whole story. Let's just take random ones out. Which is the part where it's... Okay, this seems to be the one that puts it on that weird note. You know what? This is cool, but it's a little too busy. And I was wondering, anyone in the chat, y'all have any ideas, anything you would think that would maybe take this to a place that feels more interesting? My reaction is it's cool, but it's busy. So I feel like I want to go in there and thin it out, like, you know, cutting grass. Like, we got to take out the weeds. You know, we got to let the grass breathe. Could be that this part is just too much. You know what? It's this part right here. And this needs to go, pan it to the right. Yep. Actually, let's have it to the left, right? And then we'll have these pan to the right. Let's make it a little subtler, actually. Let's make sure to pan our hi-hats as well. Okay, I think we can turn down the kick a little bit. Woody sounds. Okay, that's a good idea. A vowel filter. That would be sick. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Okay, save this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make these all the same length. You do that by holding down track and then editing trig lengths. Let's try turning the speed way up. Okay, let's see what the chat's saying. Absolutely. Okay. Let's try to do some woody sounds. You know, that's what I like about FM synth the most, is that when I think of analog drums, I think of rubbery. I think of it's hard to explain, you know, yeah, like a rubbery impact, like you're getting hit with a mallet with a bunch of rubber on it. Still hits hard, still resonates. But FM, it feels like you're getting knocked with a wooden mallet. Like there's no reverberations going back into whatever the beater is that's striking the thing. And it's not all sounds are like that, but that's kind of how I define, I think, like woody sounds to me. So let's go ahead and get, oops, didn't mean that. I also think woody sounds have like kind of a hollow. The buzz twap is not cool. Can you be more specific so I can know which part you're talking about? Because I appreciate that feedback, but I gotta know. I gotta know which thing you're talking about. Okay, let's also. Okay. It's too long. That's not quite woody, but I bet if we drop it down. So, Merc Worker, was it that sound? Electric Himalaya patches for Cypher 2. Cool. I would love to check that out. Thank you. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Is it in the left channel? Let's see. I kind of like that better, actually. Oh, got a copy. Forgot. We got 64 steps we're dealing with here. Wait, what? Paste, bro. What are you doing? That's weird. Copying this page, but it's not copying. Digitone 2, I will say, like, the one thing that Digitone 1 like has above it is some odd behavior. Like, this doesn't occur. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Sometimes it is user error in my case, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. But for me personally, I can't understand why copying a page, why is it not copying? So we're gonna do something else. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we're gonna do page, we're gonna do function plus yes per track. We're just gonna shorten this to 16 steps because I ain't got time for that. Oh, thank you, Doug. Thank you, Mark Worker. I hope I addressed the sound you're talking about. I think I did. Or I eliminated the parts that I didn't like and kept only the parts I do like. All right, back to our blocky wooden sound. I feel like if we go lower, it still has like a metal sound to it. That is like a very nice clean drum sound right there. So it makes an interesting combo. Let's mess with our harmonics. I like that very clean sound right there. Well, it's not as blocky as I would like. You know what? It's gonna definitely come from playing around back here. I like that. It's very bell-like. It's not giving me that wood feel. Just reset the whole page. To reset a whole page, just hold down the page and then hit no. Jig0351, thank you for being here. Or actually, JLG, thank you for hanging out, brother. I like that sound though. That's like classic right there. Thank you, Merc. I'm mostly just an explorer. You know, like I run around on the knobs and I find out what happens, and interesting things always come out. Okay, so it's not as woody as I like, but you know what? I kind of like that, and this is kind of what I was hoping for. This is like the sound that I was hoping for like 6 sounds ago. So I'm gonna take it as a win. All right. Oops. Ooh, I like that. Is it this one right here? Okay. I don't think I want that anymore. Let's take it out. I like it better without it. Let's just for fun, let's hear it with. Nah, I don't need it. I don't miss it. That's one of the best things in the world is like, we're always like carrying stuff over the finish line, like uphill. Oh, I gotta make this work, I gotta make that work. And then once you realize, like, you know what, I don't need to take this with me to the top of this hill. It's very freeing. It's also hard to get in the habit of doing that, I think, personally, creatively, because I want everything I make to be worth, you know, finishing. I want everything I've done to have had purpose and intention behind it, and for it to, you know, the work that I put in, I want it to equal value 1-to-1, you know, or obviously, you know, even a better ratio than that, you know. And sometimes it's better to just cut your losses on a sound, and because that is often the answer. Take this out. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Wait. Where's that sound coming from? You know, I don't think I like this track. Oh. I made the mistake of assuming that it's 16 steps and it's not. All right. Which beep are you talking about, Mark? Are you hearing it right now? Is it this one right here? You know what I want to do? Let's go to our bass line here, right? Sorry, bass line. And we got all this movement we're doing. And we know that our kicks are landing on 1, 7, and 9 every single page, right? All right, so let's go to track 7. Let's do a little goofy magic. We're gonna drop in a ghost trig on 7, pull the amp down all the way. The next one, we're gonna lock it back at where it was 77, so let's leave it there. Then we're gonna do the same thing again for this trig, and then we're gonna do another trig, but we're gonna lock the volume at where it's at. So now it's going to drop whenever the kick comes in. For fun, let's just pick one single rotation of the pages so we can hear how that sounds. And by the way, if you ever wanna, just stick to one page, when you're in record mode, hold down page, you'll see underneath each number the ability to highlight green. The ones that you highlight is now gonna be the length of loop that you're playing with. I like that. It's giving it kind of like a bouncy feel. So let's go ahead and try that again. Over here, oops, and I forgot. Gotta do this one. And this, all right, yeah, 71 was where it was at. Let me put it back. Okay. I gotta be careful not to step on these other ghost trigs too much. Put that there. Where was this at? 116, interesting, okay. All right. Now, how does this sound? Again, we're going to turn off our loop so we can hear the whole 64 steps. There's a little bit of delay between when I'm receiving text on the screen and when I'm like playing what I'm playing. So I guess it's not really easy for someone in the chat to be like, I'm talking about that because this loop is too short, unfortunately. You're talking about this? Oh, dope. Thank you, Dopamine IE. That's really, really super kind of you. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. That's... Shout out, Dopamine IE. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. High Tech Low Life R8X. Yes, dude, I will always share any knowledge I have about these machines because there's still so much knowledge left for me to learn as well. I feel like this is one of those things like how someone will study a subject like chemistry or whatever, some therapy or any type of subject, and the more that you know, the more you know that you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can bounce around and I can talk about these subjects, but every day I'm still learning things, and I'm still learning things from other people too. I have to say, like, I really, really like the community built around this box, The Electronauts forums, I haven't spent as much time there as I would like, but that's where, like, I see people dropping knowledge where I'm like, yo, dude, like, you put some time into this thing, because, like, I feel like I know it fairly well. I feel very, very comfortable, but, like, there's one dude on there named Cesar. This dude, I see him dropping all kinds of awesome, helpful knowledge, and then, of course, Bojack Horseman was the user who inspired one of my most recent videos about using the art, and I'm like, dog, like, you brought a whole extra dimension to my experience with this machine with one post. So all I can ever hope for is to try to give that energy back in my way. You're welcome. All right. I don't like this track. Delete it. And now this track, we tried out this interesting thing with the trigs going down in volume. Maybe instead of volume, let's run it over to a high pass, put it right there. And then the next one, we will now lock in place the frequency. Dang, everybody, thank you. Eden. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you, man. I love to share this stuff. I could talk about this stuff all day. It's a pleasure to even be able to use a box like this, you know, and then to know that there's other people out there that care as much as I do about this type of thing is super affirming of just creativity and love and sharing. And sorry, that sounds really cheesy. All right, so this trig, we got a high pass. It's bumping up. So now we're going to copy, put one there. Now we're going to lock in place the next trig with the regular filter. So this sound actually doesn't have any filter movement at all. So this trig is locking in place the filter being completely open. This one is bumping it up to a really high pass. Now, if this is going to be high pass right when the kick hits, this is like classic move right here, then that is going to essentially duck down that sound, but the presence, the volume will still be there. So let's keep going. Copy these dudes. Oh, you know what? I also want to do it over here. Oops. Yeah, let's move it to high pass right there. That was something I didn't do. So we want to do 1, 7, and 9. And so we got to always make sure that the trig after it is also set to just be regular filter open, locking it that way. Thank you, Badagus. I don't know how to pronounce these names. Thank you, Badagus. Thank you. Y'all are some homies. I appreciate y'all. All right, so let's keep going. Keep going. Drop one here. Filter, high pass. Pull it down. And then copy. Lock these in place. And we're going to do the same over here and over here. Now these guys, we need to lock these in place. And you can hold down more than one trig at the same time while doing it. And then also, I got to make sure to fix the volume. All right, good. I just got to make sure the stuff I did with the volume. Merc Worker, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. All right, copy. Next one. Filter up. And then, of course, we got to put one in here. Stuff like this is kind of tedious, but I think it's worth it. Because that's the funny thing is, like, we could do all this and be like, does this even sound good? You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I think I did everything correctly. Let's hear how it sounds. Let's hear just this track with the kick drum over here. Okay. Let's copy over to a new pattern, right? Paste pattern. We're going to save that one where it's at. Now, hearing this bass and this kick in isolation, I can't help but feel there's some different stuff we can do. So let's go in here. So it seems like over here is where things, oops. Oh, Jesus. All right, copy. This is where things get lost and it starts to sound a little too murky. So. What does that sound like? Oops, all right. What am I doing? All right. So let's go ahead and just paste some sounds like that around. Let's not be afraid. Let's get wild. Yeah, whatever. Detune, who cares? Harmonics. Yeah, let's just see how that goes. Sounds ridiculous. Okay, this is going to be our fail-safe. This is where all the things are going to be locked in place where we want them to be, including this, so that any sounds that happen, we can always return back. So let's do that. Let's actually put this further away. Yeah, like right there. And then Okay. I don't like that. Let's not be afraid. You know what? I think the answer is staring us in the face. Instead of trying so hard to make that into something crazy, let's go ahead and shorten it to 32 steps. Okay. Now, oh, and then we got to shorten our trig to 32 steps as well. Maybe let's make it 31 so there's a little bit of drop off at the end before we go back to the 1. You know what? We don't need these kicks at the end. The answer is always subtraction. It's never addition. I always want to just add and add and add and add. And that's not always the answer. Okay, we need a proper snare. That's what's missing. So let's get funky on a snare. Now we finally have permission to make something normal. Let's go to the FM drum. And of course we need to pull this down. And let's put some color into it. Okay, that's something. And that's an insanely crazy sound right there. We're not gonna mess with that. Let's jump over here to the noise section, put a little decay on it. I wish that, this is so specific, but I wish that we could, just like with the envelopes on the FM tone machine, if we could put in a little bit of space between from when the trig gets hit and when the noise gets triggered. Because so often with noise on a snare, if you have those beads loose, when you initially hit that snare, they will rattle, but a lot of times the rattle will the full rattle will be happening a little bit after the initial thump when you have them loose. If you have them tight, then it's like instant, right? And that's how this is set up so that the noise just always instantly matches. If we could have a little bit of space there, you know what? Let's do it with LFOs just for fun. All right, so we're gonna go down here to noise level. Then we're gonna go here to, this is our ramp up, and just like earlier, we're gonna do halvesies on the one shot, so it gets triggered every time. We're gonna move it over to the mult page. Then we're gonna use our phase to scoot it over. So now we have a little bit of space where nothing's happening, and then the noise is going to ramp up, which is already going to imitate the way that a snare would sound in real life. It would not, the rattling, yes, if you have it tight, it will be pretty instantaneous, but if you have it looser, it's going to, it's gonna be a little bit of time that those reverberations going down into the shell and out the bottom, those are milliseconds, but that's time that we can measure and play with. So this is not fast enough. There we go. So you can hear right there, it's a little bit behind. And that's a little bit too far behind. So if we have it at 127, this is immediately ramping up. And that already kind of gets that sound we want. So maybe we don't need to play with the phase to have a 0. Actually, yeah, let's go really fast with it and really high with it, and then play with the phase. Okay, it's so fast that gap right here is too fast. Okay, and then of course we put some distortion on it. That's going to kind of marry the splash of the noise and the thump together. Put a little sample rate on it. I'm not in love with this. It needs some work, but let's go ahead and put it on top of here, see how that sounds. Make sure I'm not, I always generally try to avoid, if I can, having the snare and the kick hit at the same time. Just makes it easier for filling up the space sonically without stuff overlapping too much. Oh, all right, I messed up. So then, let's do like that. Nope, already it's not working for me, but that's okay. I think it needs to be lower. We don't even need more than one. It's this, we need to filter off some of those highs. There's too much. Ooh. Yeah, Mark Worker knows what's up. Put a little more distortion on it. Jump to that noise. Let's take out the grain, see if that would like that better. Nah, I don't like it better. Let's do a lot of grain. The grain is kind of like a way of spreading out the beads on the bottom of the snare so that when they rattle, or thicker beads, it's kind of hard to. It's an alternative to, a lot of times when you have that noise, it's so piercing, so painful. This is kind of a way of breaking it up, making it a little more palatable. Let's go ahead and mess with, this is the body of the drum. I think it could be a little bit shorter, a little bit. Okay, let's go back to playing around with this stuff right here. Kind of like that. Okay. Now, generally, editing your drums in isolation is probably not a good idea. But I find it sometimes helpful to crack it open and just put the magnifying glass on one sound it's good to be able to edit a sound while the rest of the music's playing, or at least some of the other key elements are playing, because then we can make our decisions based on the whole and not just like on the individual. Because back when I first started doing anything with music, I was always just isolating each sound by itself, going in and making it sound how I wanted it to sound. So the sound would be really good for my ears in isolation, but then it wouldn't translate to the mix. So things like I want all my kicks to be extra punchy, extra fat, extra full, and then try to bring that into the mix, and the bass and the kick just absolutely don't get along. It's crowding everything out, and it just feels, lackluster. It feels amateurish or whatever. And so learning to try to tune the elements to the whole and to not have ego, because of course, like, I'm sitting there dialing it in exactly how I want it in isolation, and then I bring it into the song. No, it's not me that's wrong, it's the song that's wrong. That's like what my ego says. So we gotta flip that around, gotta try to do it the other way, try to have a more open mind about it. And that's just generally music that's just music and art in general. But Digitone 2, because we have such a fluid ability to just save, copy, whatever, we can always just try things out. We don't have to fall in love with it. We don't have to marry it, but we can at least try it out. And what I find is that the less precious I am with like, oh, but I made this and I like it for what it is. And then the more that I'm like open to, hey, but what if the next thing is better? Or what if the next thing is better in a way that I don't yet understand, because it's going to contribute to the whole picture better than what I am doing, on my own. So it's just something to keep in mind, something I've thought about a lot, something that I'm constantly battling with, but Digitone 2 has helped me a lot grow in that way, to where I'm more able to be fluid and malleable in the ways that I approach sounds and stuff. So let's just isolate just the kick and the snare and the hi-hat. These are kind of our three amigos. We kind of always need these dudes to be hanging out together. The hi-hat's job is always to just blend, and the kick and the hi-hat's job is to be kind of a seesaw back and forth. The kick pulls you in, the snare pushes you out. Now we could corrupt that relationship and flip it and try to have the snare be the thing that is both pushing you out but also pulling you down, like becoming the anchor of the song, because it's the lowest and loudest thing, the way that a kick drum is. And maybe we tune our kick higher. That's something that I've heard Richard D. James do in some of his tracks. I'd have to find you an example, but those tracks, either the snare is the loudest thing or it's close to it enough to where I'm like, this is a remarkable choice, but it fits and hits so good. Richard D. James, come on, he's the best. So of course he's going to be able to make something like that work. But let's see, how do these three sounds sound together? Okay. In this case, I think our snare is a lower pitch, which I do not mind. But does that fit everything else? Let's see. I don't think it does. I think we could play around with our pitch a little bit. Let's put on distortion. Let's play around with this stuff. How do you properly copy a pattern while it's running? I seem to keep messing it up somehow. So it's always going to depend on what's on your page. I'm going to call that snare good for now, but we're going to come back to it because I want to answer this question for Unek. So if you go to your page, you're going to see this reset number right here. This is the number of beats. So if I say, hey, let's jump to pattern 8, This is the number of beats that are considered a block of the pattern. So if I'm at 62 steps and I hit pattern 8, it's going to jump within 2 steps to pattern 8. So we can do things like set this to like 128 or whatever, and that way the pattern can always be playing for like a set amount of time that feels appropriate before we switch over. So yeah, we save this pattern, right? Jump over to pattern 8. It's gonna take 64 steps. Obviously we don't have anything there yet, but we can just do paste. And of course, that's what I love about Digitone too. It's gonna jump right in exactly where we were on that 64 steps. And then something that is also worth knowing, this reset value, if this is set really low, it's gonna affect everything. It's gonna always hard stop your track and send it back to the beginning, which is kind of cool for live stuff, you know. If you hold down function, it will always jump in, numbers like 16, 32, all those even numbers. It's hard to get the timing right though for something like that. But I've had so many times where I accidentally left this reset value on like 16, and I was like trying to write this long lead part or something. I'm like, oh no, like none of my recordings went through because it kept resetting at 16 steps. And of course, you can always go to infinite, and in that case, this is what the change value does. Changes basically, so sorry, let me amend my statement here. The change is what I was describing. The change is saying that's how many bars the pattern will go before we switch to a new one. If you don't have change going, it's just gonna assume that the amount of the total, this reset is gonna be what decides that. But in cases where, let's say you have like a way out there number like 272, but you know that you don't want to just hang out for 272 steps, like you don't know where you are in that pattern, then that's where the change is super valuable. You could say, I want to change after 4 steps. So now we're on pattern 7. I hope that was helpful. And of course we can also, infinite is our homie for when we're doing polyrhythms. But let's do 64, I like that, save it. All right, this snare is working for me. I think it's cool. Just for fun, one last thing, let's try and do a pad. Let's play with all these sounds. Oops. Create a duplicate of the current pattern, but keep it running on the current pattern. I don't think that's possible. I mean, as far as I know, that's not possible. I've never been able to do that. So, if that is possible, then yeah, I apologize. I don't currently know how to do that. Yeah, because in order to jump to a new spot to, paste your pattern, you're gonna need to jump to that pattern to do it, and it's gonna be empty when you get there unless you have like a pre-saved older, yeah, I think the only thing you can do is like create a new pattern and be hanging out on that pattern and keep your old pattern as the one that, I don't know, yeah. Now, a good thing to point out here, A is lower than C, right? So when we go up in our modulation, it gets thinner, right? It sounds less warm. It's like almost like a high pass is being applied. But if we take A and we make it above C, Oops, sorry. Then it doesn't actually change anything. This is not the best example. But it's just good to notice, like, what are the timbre differences? Oh, I like that. It's soft. Okay, well, I believe you, Unek. So if that's possible, yeah, I would love to know how as well. Man, okay. Okay. Copy pattern, and then in pattern select mode, function plus pattern plus trig. Oh, okay. Thank you. See, I'm learning stuff that I didn't know, so forgive me for saying that it wasn't possible at first. Yeah, dude, everybody shout out High Tech Low Life R8X. You're not a low life at all, dog. You are the man with the knowledge today. And also Kushi Soka, thank you for contributing as well. And Mean5445, thank you as well. Got a lot of really good suggestions today. Ryoji Ikeda, I've definitely heard him before. I want to look more into him. And I'm also going to check out Grisha Lichtenberger. I think I've heard of them as well. Man. Copy pattern, and then in pattern select mode, function plus pattern trig plus paste. All right, we're going to try it. Function. Okay. Plus trig plus paste. I don't think I did it right. Function plus pattern plus trig paste. No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to learn this stuff, y'all. I'm sorry. I love a good Sicily FM. Crusher X, cool. Kushisoka, I'm gonna check your stuff out. Thank you for being here today. Let's do a long attack, long release. Long release. Pull it down a little bit. We gotta mess with our pitch. Ooh. All right. I'm digging that. Let's lock it to 2 voices. Pattern plus pattern trig number plus paste. That's even simpler. All right, high tech, low life. All right, I gotta try it. Okay, copy. Pattern plus pattern trig number plus paste. That makes sense. Okay. I'm not getting. Oh, is it because I'm on this page? Oh my God, we did it! Woo! Oh my God. All right. Thank you, chat. Thank you for coming through today with some brand new knowledge. I feel a little very grateful. Oh, I have it limited to 2 voices. Okay. All right, we got to lay this down. Oops. What track are we on? Oh, here we go. That's a good point. So much to remember, so much to forget. That's why I like the best way to learn an instrument like this is just by doing. You know what I'm saying? Like something that I want to do more often is just have like a dedicated, no expectations like session. I mean, that's kind of like what this is, but I have another objective, which is to explore and share and hopefully make something that I'm really excited about, which I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is my favorite thing I've made so far on a stream. But yeah, having a dedicated just explore thing going on. Oh man, I want to use Max. I know it's kind of expensive to get Max, or you could pay for the subscription. That's something I really want to do. I'm jealous, is what I'm trying to say, of Adam. All right, I think we could turn this down a little bit. And you know what? Let's bring this down. Oh fuck, didn't mean to do that. Oh, I was supposed to curse also. This is 32 bars. Make this, 25, 26, 27. Oops, track 12. But yeah, just a little too loud. Those shrill notes are a little too high. Now, one last thing I want to try. Let's lower our tempo just for fun. Let's do super techno version. Copy. Now I've saved this version of it, as we learned today on the chat. And let's go back to that original tempo. What do y'all like better, the fast one or the slow one? Please let me know. I think for this fast one, the kicks need to be doing a little bit less. let's go ahead and take these kicks that are close to each other. Let's take the first of the two. See the second of the two, bring that velocity down. Generally, I try to keep the kick that sits on the one, as the loudest velocity. This one can be loud too, but maybe just oh, didn't mean to do that actually. Maybe a little bit quieter than the one. Yeah, this one can be dun dun dun. This one will be loud, nice and loud. Thanks, Aiden. I'm gonna, last time that the Max went on sale, I was strongly considering buying it, but I just can't justify buying stuff right now. Since you have two patterns, why not fast and slow? I kind of agree. I like them both. And yeah, let's play around with some swing, just like my last video. Let's do it on the fast one though. Sorry, my bad, y'all. I muted my mic because my dog was barking, and I forgot and started talking again. Well, I hope y'all heard what I said. Badagus, thanks for being here today. Thanks you for your contribution. Dr. Leviathan, thanks for hanging out. Giza, my homie. Make sure everybody, check out Giza's page. Got some dope advice, especially on the dig attack, but making some really cool acid stuff that inspires me a lot that I want to try to emulate maybe someday if I can. Yeah, sorry about that audio cut, y'all. High tech, low life came through always with those technical knowledge, teaching about the fact that there was no sound and also how to copy patterns, something that I learned today. So thank y'all for having the patience with me, for me to learn stuff as well. And I want to shout out Badagus, I want to shout out Aiden, Kushisoka, Merc Worker, Unek, Costco Hot Dog Lover. Whoa, I missed this comment. Hi, Slumpfish. I performed my first live show last night with my Digitone 2, and you and EasyBot were invaluable in helping me prepare. My absolute 100% pleasure, dude. Congratulations on your first show last night. Man, that's awesome. And of course, shout out EasyBot. He's the man. He makes super helpful, great videos. Meme 5445. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for all the awesome recommendations. Ryoji Ikeda, Grisha Lichtenberger, and then there was Dopamine IE, my homie. Thank you for being here. Of course, everyone that contributed in the chat with your contributions, that means a lot to me. Aiden, Dopamine, Badagus, Merc Worker, y'all are my homies. Thank you. Oops, what am I doing? What's going on? All right, and then what's the name of that label? I'm trying to find it. I will find the name of this label. It is somewhere in here. And the artist that I was talking about earlier is Konding Ray. They made the soundtrack to Surat. Amazing movie I can recommend, very disturbing. Raster Notan, and then they changed their name. All right, I'm gonna check out this label, Roster Noton. Shout out to them. They've got some really, really, really good artists. Alva Noto is someone I super recommend. Tactical MIDI, hell yeah. Digitone 1 is still a banger. I want to do more stuff about the Digitone 1 in the future for that reason. It is still a fire synth. Because of course I love my Digitone 2, but Digitone 1 slaps hard and has some interesting things about it that I think make it not only just still worth having, but also a really good alternative to the Digitone 2. I think of the Digitone 2 as like, of course, like Digitone 1 on steroids, but it's also kind of represents like, hey, let's go down a different path. Both paths have a lot of really awesome, cool stuff in their way. And I think it's Digitone 1 being so streamlined, only having 4 tracks, that makes it creatively a partner in a way that Digitone 2 isn't. I know in the chat, folks were talking earlier about how 16 tracks is more than they need, only having 5 for drums, 5 for tones. And I'm like, yeah, like it's pretty rare for me to actually hit the full 16 tracks. So of course, I'm never going to complain about having more tracks, but Verlin Music, thanks for being here. Do you have fixed streaming times? That's a really good question. So this is kind of the fixed streaming time that I was thinking I would like to continue doing in the future. If folks are into it, Sundays, every other Sunday at noon, that's US Central Time. So I'm not sure what time zone folks are in, but if people are in that, how many tracks are on the 2? 16. So 4 times as many. It's also, so Digitone 1 has 8 voices and Digitone 2 has 16 voices. So it's a little different. You know, obviously like my initial, what I thought Digitone 2 was going to be 16 voices, but with 12 tracks because of Syntact. And because in my mind, I was like, God, if I could get even just 8 tracks, I'm still such a big fan of Digitone 1, but 8 tracks would be such a huge step up. 12 tracks would be an even bigger. Actually, what I thought was going to happen is we would get 12 voices and 8 tracks, but we got 16 voices and 16 tracks, but I didn't know they were going to add this drum machine. The drum machine kind of like gives you a chance to build out a full drum kit in it with those 16 voices. Yes, and Giza's coming in with some perfection advice that the track numbers, the amount of tracks becomes less intimidating when you're utilizing track layering techniques. And personally for me, that's like the road to salvation for when you're rocking to make something like a pad or a lead. Because yeah, like how many elements are in a song? You know, like do you need a track to make a shaker that only shakes one time in your whole track? Like does that shaker need to be there? We only need so many elements. Kick. So like today, like I think we've only filled up, I only think I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm using 7. Sorry, I have a hard time counting. 7 tracks today, and that was all I needed to make a very full sounding track. Oh, 8 tracks. I forgot about the bass. Now, this is a situation where being able to pick your swing amount per track would be better because I do really like this bounciness, but I don't like the bounciness on this bass right here. It's better with those uniform switches as it's following the trigs, you know, cutting around. So I'm gonna finish this song. I think I'll add some elements to it, try to build it out, and then I'll put it up for free on my Patreon if anyone wants to join. And then they can download the project file for this and use it on their own device. The last beat that I made on the last stream 2 weeks ago ended up being the main beat that's featured in my most recent video about the features I'd like to see in Digitone 2. But it's very different. Like I spent a lot of time on it, so after like 4 or 5 hours, it was a very different beat by the end of it. And that's a really good point that High Tech Lowlife just brought up, is that with 16 tracks, we also have more space to mess with our MIDI tracks. and control other instruments. Radio Blog Tirana, thank you for being here, dog. Thank you for your kind words. Okay, I gotta wrap up the chat. This has been a really fun day today. I really appreciate y'all. This is definitely the highlight of my week for sure. And yeah, I want to come back in 2 weeks at this time on Sunday. So I hope that works for other folks. And like, I don't know, I'm open to different times as well. But this is the time I was kind of thinking for 2 weeks from now. So anyway, thanks y'all for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I hope y'all had as much fun as I did. Now I'm gonna, for a little outro, we're gonna play a little beat for y'all. Thank you, Dr. Leviathan. Thank you very. Thank you. Thank you, Giza. Thank you, homie, for hanging out today. Aiden. All right, y'all. I gotta go walk my dogs. That's why they're barking. I don't know if y'all can hear that. They are ready to eat. They are ready to get walked. They are mad, I could tell. All right.